Now it's time for us to create the one with dots. Okay, so for that, let's open layer 1 again as well as layer 2. Then we are going to duplicate this. All right, we're creating a duplicate for that. Let's create a duplicate for the label as well. So now for this one right here, let's close this and create layer 5. Okay, so this is where the bust measurement comes in place. So now to create your dots, what you need to do is to find your bust circumference, which for me is 28. Then you divide that by 8 minus 1, or divided by 8, you get 4.25. Now you subtract 1 from that, you get 3.25, and that is basically the measurement you need from the center front of your waist to where the dot point needs to be, at the center back of your waist to where the dot point needs to be. Or you could decide to do a different one if you have your client with you, or if you just want to do it yourself, which is basically measure from one point of your nipple to the other point of your nipple, whatever measurements you get, to divide that by 2, and that is going to be your dot point for your skirt. And the reason why it's this way is because you want to make sure that your dot goes all the way from your bust down to the skirt evenly, right, when you are creating it. Like, for example, if you're making a dress out of this and the dress has a dart and you want the skirt to have a dart, you don't want the skirt's darts to be here and your waist, you don't want your top's dart to be here and your skirt's dart to be here. You need to make sure that everything is aligned in one place, and for you to do that, you need this measurement, or you need to take your nipple to nipple measurement accurately for that to work. So now we're going to put that measurement. So remember I said you go from your center front away from your center front, right? So from here we're going to click and put 3.25, which is this measurement right here. Now for the angle, you want it to go angle 0. All right, then you put that there. And let me change this to red. No, change it to blue. So we're going to do that. Now for the back, we're also going to repeat the same step. Let's make it easier. Okay, so now that that is done, what we are going to do now is to then create our depth. So now that means from the waist all the way down, like how long do you want it to be. So for the front, I usually prefer to go for like about 4 inches each. So that is going to go down. Now from this 4-inch right here, let me get rid of this one because I don't need it anymore. So now for this 4-inch here, we need to then create our dart. So now for that, like, how much dart do you want? Do you want 1-inch dart or 2-inch dart? So for the front, I'm going to make the dart 2-inch. So that 2-inch, I'm going to divide it by 2. And when you divide it by 2, you're going to have 1 inch on both sides. So I'm going to put 1 inch on this side right here. So then 1 inch on the other side. So for this, it's going to be angle 180 because I want it to go to the opposite side. Now that that is done, we then connect from here to here to create our dots, then from here to here, and our front dot has been created. All right, so now when you're creating a dart, remember when you make a dart, you tend to take away from your actual measurements. So if you see here, the actual measurement for here is 7 inches, right? Now, but because we've created our dart, that is going to remove 2 inches from our actual measurement, which is going to end up making it 5 inches, and that is too small for our waist. So what do? We need to make sure that we transfer this to the extreme here. So to do that, where this orangey looking point ends at, I'm going to click there, then put 2 and transfer that allowance that I created. All right, So now that that is done, this is what you have for the front. Okay, now let's do the back darts. So for the back darts, we are going to make it 1 inch rather than 2 inches. So you divide that by 2, so which is going to give you 0.5 on both sides. However, before we do that, we want to create the depth of the dart. So for the back, the depth, I'm going to make it 5 inches. You could make it however you want, but I just prefer 5 inches for the back. Now, after doing that, we don't need this anymore. So we're going to remove that. Now it's time for us to create a dart itself. So I said 0.5 on each side. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, so now because this wall we made the darts 1 inch, we're going to transfer 1 inch like we did to the front. So 1 inch. And voila, you've created your skirt with darts. So now it's time for us to actually draft the skirt piece. Okay, so for that I'm going to create a different layer for that and create a skirt piece. Let's use a different color. Okay, so now we've created that. So obviously the dots we just created, I want to make sure I transfer it to this new layer. So what am I going to do? I'm going to copy it. Remember what we did? Control C for copy. Close that old layer. Click on this circle thing here. Then Control F to have it placed directly overlapping the other dots. Okay, now for that, I'm going to then change the color to this. Okay, so now when we close this layer, we have this. Oh no, we have our created skirt piece. Okay, now the skirt has been created. Now I want to make a facing for this. When you're making a waistband, it's still the same thing applies for the dartless. You just create the band. That's as if you're making a straight waistband. If you're creating a curved waistband, it's a different thing entirely. Now, because I want to make a waistband facing for this, we're going to do something different. All right. So first of all, I'm going to copy this, every single thing, copy, lock this layer, create a new layer, which is going to be layer 7, right? And directly place that there. And let's just change the color to a different color. All right, leave it at it's purple. So for this, I want the layer, the waistband facing to be about 2 inches as well. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go all the way from here, 2 inches, mark. I'm going to do the same thing for the back, 2 inches mark. Now I'm going to then just mark 2 inches like so. So now that I've gotten that, I'm just going to delete this because we don't need it anymore. The one we took from the. All right, so then we're going to drag this all the way to this side and drag this all the way to this side. Now that that is done, let's start with the front. Okay, we're going to first of all trim here. So for the front, we're going to be trimming a few places. We're going to trim off the bottom parts first because we don't need that. Now we're going to focus on the darts. So for the darts, you see we have 3 points. We're going to, you want to make sure first of all that you click the darts so you can see the lines. Then trim, 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 then trim. Okay, so once that is done, you delete that. So now it's time for us to join this point to the rest of the skirt piece. Then remember to click on the direct selection tool, drag to get the 2 points, right click and join. Repeat the same step here, right click and join. Okay, so now that we've gotten that, we'll repeat the same step to the back piece. Okay, so now that that has been done, let's take this away from the skirt piece itself. So I'm going to create a duplicate for this, and you'll see why later on. Okay, so now that this has been created, now it's time for us to create the waistband facing. Now for the waistband facing, you don't need your dots there. So we need to eliminate this dot. So what do we do? First of all, we are going to clip this side here. We are going to clip here, then also clip here, so that we have one side. We have this side as, let's make it pink, and we have this side right. So now for this one right here, which is the dots, we are going to, okay, so we're going to put there, and we're going to, for this side right here, we're also going to cut here as well as here with our scissors. Okay, so now that that has been done, we're then going to delete this part right here. I want this one to also be the same color as that side. So that's that. Now that we've done that, we need to make sure we join this side to this side. So what do? We click on everything right here. Then we go to this rotation tool, and we are going to rotate this like so. As we rotate, we drag it here. You keep rotating. So you get like this, okay? So you might be saying, oh, this is such a weird shape to have. It is, but you could also adjust it later on. All right, so now that that is done, let's close this layer and create a new layer. So for us to do the necessary adjustments. So for this, let's change the color to green. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the pen tool from here. We're going to just to create a curve so it doesn't look anything like what is on this one. We'll drag. And we create another curve. Just keep in mind that that is just supposed to be a guideline. So it's not something that has to look like this. Okay, so now that that is done, for this right here, you could decide to move this. So it looks like an actual waist. Now here, you could decide to. That's just the beauty about drafting. Alright, so now we've gotten the front. Now we've gotten the front waistband facing. Let's drag this up. Now let's do the same thing for the back. Okay, so now I've also created the back waistband facing. So this is what you have. Just to be sure that I need to be sure that the waistband facing at the side seams need to align. So I'm going to duplicate the two of them first. Then I'm going to drag. Okay, I need to be sure that the measurement at this side here is accurate, and it is accurate because that is where you're going to join the side fronts as well as the side back pieces together, so they need to be accurate. All right, so now that that is done, you basically have your front as well as your back piece for both the dartless and the dart skirt piece. Okay, so now that that is done, it is now time for us to put this in a PDF version for us to print out at home or wherever and cut out the pieces and sew. So I already have my own template, which I already said I'm going to leave available for you guys. So let's do that. Okay, so this is what mine looks like. This is the template I use when printing on my A4 paper because I print out on A4 paper. As you can see, each one has been lettered and numbered just to make it easier to know what column and row it's at. And at this section right here, I make my pattern in 8 sizes, so UK 6 to UK 20. So, and each one comes with a different color and different lines. So I put that here to make it easier for you when you buy. Then there's also this right here, which is the test page. So you print it. So when you're printing out your pattern piece, you want to make sure, just in case you don't know, you want to make sure you're printing at 100% or actual size so that the pattern size is not distorted. Okay, so that's that. So now let us transfer the pattern we just created here. So I only need this one as well as the waistband facing because mine is coming with the dots. Okay, so let's move this. Let's drag this to the new place. Okay, so now that that is done, you can see I already have so much space here that I don't need anymore. So what am I going to do? First of all, I'm going to have to delete them because if you don't delete them when you're printing, all these papers will be printed. Okay, so for that, I'm going to unlock those ones. And I'm going to just take my direct selection tool to drag and delete. It comes because it comes with a lot of like things like, and that is what I'm going to do. Now you aren't done yet because this is still going to get printed. Okay, so in order for that to be prevented, what you need to do is to go to your artboard tool, click on it, because this is going to be used in creating, adjusting artboards on your canvas or also deleting artboard as well. So once you do that, you can see it starts numbering. You can see there are 81 pages here, which will get printed out if you don't do the next step, which is clicking on one and start deleting from there. Deleting the ones you do not want. Okay, so now that that is done, this is what I have. So now I can go ahead to print this. I'm just going to name it like just a random name. Okay, and I also want to indicate which ones need to be cut on a fold. So it's going to be the front skirt piece and needs to be cut on a fold. as well as the front facing that needs to be cut on a fold. Oh, there was something else I forgot to mention. Actually, I'm going to do that now. Okay, so there's something else I forgot to mention that I just remembered now. So that is adding your seam allowance. Skirt was made with your actual measurement in size, in mind rather. So when you're sewing this up, you're actually taking some measurements away from the skirt. So in order for you to accommodate for said measurements, you need to input your seam allowance. All right, so now let's do that. So let's start with the front skirt, because the front skirt is going to be cut on a fold, right? I need to ungroup this first so that the seam allowance is just for the skirt and not the dot. So what I'm going to do now is to click on objects here. Then you go to path, then it will take you all the way to these ones here. The one you need to click on is offset path. So when you click on offset path, you see it already creates like a border around the previous line. So now mine is in inches. It depends on what metrics you use. I use inches. If you use centimeters, that's fine. So I want my seam allowance to be a half an inch centimeter, half an inch inches. So I'm going to put 0.5. So when I do that, you see, it changes, right? So I am going to click OK. Now remember that the front part here doesn't need a seam allowance because it's going to be cut on fold. So what I'm going to do is to click on the direct selection tool, and I'm going to drag here. Then I'm going to click on Control Shift M. Okay, to bring out this, then 0.5. I'm going to take in that 0.5 that was created when I was creating my seam allowance. Then okay, this is it. Obviously you could decide to drag this all the way up. Let's do that now. Okay, for the difference between this one and the front is because the back we're going to be cutting two pieces, since I'm planning on putting my zip at the center back. But if you're planning on putting your zip at the side seam, then you just cut one piece, okay, unfold. But I want it to be at the center back, so I'm going to go here again and repeat the same step, 0.5, and voila, it's done. So now it's time for us to drag this. So now that that is done, we're going to repeat the same step for the back and the front. Okay, and now this is it. So I want to change the color to black because that is the color I need it to be when I'm printing out. So now we have our pattern in black, and I'm also going to change the stroke because when you're printing out, 5.5 is too big, so I'm going to make it 1, so it looks like this. Okay, so when you print out, you have a proper line you print from. Okay, so that is pretty much it. Now, when you want to save this, all you need to do is to click on File, Save As. I also like to write the pattern paper size just to make sure I'm printing out the correct one. Then save that there. Okay, it will tell you Save PDF, and your PDF pattern has been saved. Okay, now that that has been done, let's go open the PDF and see. So you see how you actually print out your paper pattern. All right, so this is the pattern we just created and put in an A4 paper. So this is what it looks like. Okay, now let's say we want to print this. I'm printing mine later, not now. We're going to go to the print icon here, click on it. This is what the setup will look like when it's time for you to print. So as you can see, this is the paper pattern piece here. Okay, so now there are certain things you need to put in mind or keep in mind when you're printing out. First of all, what type of paper are you using to print out? If you're using an A4 paper, you need to print with the A4 paper setting. If you're using the US letter, you need to print with the US letter setting. The first thing is to make sure that this is an actual size or custom scale. Okay, so another thing you need to look for is to make sure that this measurement here falls into the paper pattern or the paper size setting you're going for. So this right here should be a letter setting. So that's why you can see at the bottom here that it extends all the way to the bottom, which is not the actual size for this, right? So because this was created for A4 pattern paper, not US letter. So what do? We go to page setup here, click on it. As you can see, it says letter for the size. So which is why this place right here looks different. So now let's put the actual size we need. So for us, that is going to be A4 size. Okay, then we click OK. Okay, so now that we've changed the size format, you can see it's also changed here from 8 by 11 to 8.27 by 11.67. And as you can see at the bottom here, everything aligns properly. Okay, so once you've done that, you can click on print and start printing out your pattern pieces. Okay, and that is pretty much it for this video right here. I feel like it's too long, so let's see how it goes. If it's too long for the YouTube, because yeah, I might divide it into two. If it's not, then we will just go to just one video for this. And I really hope it was packed enough information to help you on how to draft your pattern piece. So for the next course, or the next for the next course, let me know if you want me to draft another blog, or you just want me to dive right into grading the skirt piece. Leave me a comment in the comment section for your suggestions. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope it was helpful, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye.
You look so lovely, it scares me to death. I used to get so insecure with you.